We're back for another episode of our Swoon-Worthy podcast. This week's subject, the fascinating world of Emma Woodhouse. Jane Austen wrote her fourth novel and got it published back in 1815. It's been adapted for the screen countless times. We're going to dig into many of the versions, including Clueless, a 90s take on Austen's popular and hilarious story. Now, Jane Austen herself said, "I'm going to take a heroine whom no one but myself will much like." Cayla, what do you think about that statement? What do you think of Miss Emma Woodhouse?
I think Jane Austen knew what she was talking about.
Are you saying that you're not a fan?
I mean, she's not my favorite character of Jane Austen's, but
Mm-hmm.
I have grown to appreciate the story a bit more than I think I used to.
Okay.
Like, what's your first memory of watching the movies? And
I have to say that actually my love of period dramas kind of stems from Emma. I have a very strong memory of the first time I watched Emma, the 1996 version starring Gwyneth Paltrow. I was in fifth grade, so I was very young. I had a friend who was very kind of boy crazy and got me to be a bit boy crazy. And this was, we were very young. And so when I watched Emma, my mom recommended it. I felt like a deep connection to her world where she's matchmaking and, maybe doing a bit of gossiping. It just felt very real for me, even though it was set in a different time period. So that was actually one of my favorite first memories of watching a period drama and loving it.
wow, okay. Yeah, we were very, very different as children. I did not read Emma in what,
Well,
fifth
no,
grade?
I didn't read it. I watched it. So I watched it for the first time in fifth grade, and then I read it in middle school.
I remember watching the Emma version from the 90s with Gwyneth Paltrow. I think I watched it with you and mom,
Mm-hmm.
and I liked it. I don't know. It's definitely not the most eventful movie.
See, I think it's different. I think it's very eventful. I mean, it's people situational. What I think resonates with people about Emma is it's probably the most rom-com of Austen's work. Silly situations, he said, she said. People love it and they keep making movies about it.
Yeah, this one, I don't know.
It's a good thing.
I definitely like it now more, but it's definitely more like whose house are they at now? Like,
It's got a lot of characters. They're related to each other in some way. They're connected to each other in some way. Another fun fact, so Emma Woodhouse is the wealthiest of Jane Austen's heroines. Think of the Bennet sisters, the Dashwoods. They're not as well off. So Emma's kind of coming from a different position. People look up to her. She doesn't have to find a husband if she doesn't want to. She's got a security there. She's the mistress of Hartfield, her father's home. I don't know. I just think hilarity ensues in this.
I just feel like Emma's a lot more like, your Blair Waldorf or your Mary Crawley type of character. Um, and so I think that's why a lot of people really enjoy this story. She's just very confident and polished and fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's got that. And I guess that's just never been my favorite type of character.
I think it's a story that gets funnier every time you watch it when you start to really get to know the characters and you're not as confused by, where are they going, what are they doing, who's who, because I feel like all of the characters, including her heroine, are flawed and funny, more so than some of her other books. So we start out with her governess, Miss Taylor, getting married to Mr. Weston. You get a sense of her father right off the beginning. He doesn't even want to call her Miss Weston. He wants to refer to her as her old name. He's a bit of a hypochondriac. He doesn't want Emma traveling too far. The sister has already gotten married and left home. And I think the father's hilarious. I love Mr. Woodhouse in all the adaptations. You can get a sense of Emma feeling a bit proud of her matchmaking skills right at the beginning, too. A lot of the time, you'll see Emma as a blonde. Jane Austen didn't specify her hair color in the novel. She does mention Harriet Smith being blonde, but sometimes you see the Harriet character having darker hair in contrast to a blonde Emma. So that's just an interesting thing.
Yeah, that is interesting. I feel like usually the Harriet is a redhead, Emma's mostly blonde. So
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Why do people always want to make people blonde?
Well, I think I think it fits with what people perceive as a blonde, a bit of a clueless beauty. and, maybe up in the clouds a bit. I don't know. That's just what we think of as when we think of blonde, and people have cast blonde actresses in the
How did
role.
Jane Austen describe Emma like in the book?
Well, she introduces Emma as handsome, clever, and rich with a comfortable home and a happy disposition. She's 21 years old. Nothing much has vexed her. So, kind of more carefree, no money issues. She has time to matchmake and do some charity work.
Just your girl next door.
Your girl next door. All the guys kind of like her or like flirting with her. I think Gwyneth Paltrow is a good version of Emma. Like, she, to me, fits Jane Austen's character so well. She's kind of a bit high and mighty, but I think she plays this character so well. Some people don't like this version. And I didn't know that because I have a young memory of watching it with my mother, and we both loved it and thought it was hilarious. This is actually the lowest rated of the Emmas. I know. I think it's so funny and enjoyable. It is maybe more of a rom-com aspect of it.
Well, do you think it's because there's so many like American actresses in it that are having a British accent?
Perhaps.
Because I think this version is definitely, in my opinion, the best version.
I know you and I think that, and I just wanted to, I was curious, what you'd say when I told you that it was the lowest rated and not as well liked, because I think it's so funny. The transitions, the cuts, the camera work make it like laugh out loud
Yeah.
funny.
And that's what I was gonna say. I love the director and how they like I laugh at
Yes.
Emma so much because she's the way she's like, oh my gosh, Emma, she's doing it again, like
Uh-huh.
it's
And
really
she's so funny. I love the way she talks in this, the way she vents and her inner monologue. I think Gwyneth does a great job.
yeah, and she's more definitely more likable this version. The other versions, I feel like I'm just kind of like, I don't really like Emma. She seems obnoxious. You know what I mean?
Well, let's talk about that a little bit later because I do want to go there. But let's continue talking about the 96 version a little bit more, to start off everything. So, directed by Douglas McGrath, and the screenplay is by Douglas McGrath. The costumes were Oscar nominated by Ruth Myers, hairstyling by Simon Thompson. I love the hair in this one. It looks so pretty on Emma. It's very tightly, put up, and the tendrils, the curls. Um, and her costumes are so pretty. Apparently, they wanted to highlight Gwyneth Paltrow's swan-like neck, and the colors of the costumes have been criticized a bit for accuracy, but I think it's just pretty. They wanted to make it look like a watercolor, like they use watercolor type color palettes. I think it's visually stunning. I don't know.
No, yeah, I agree. I thought, yeah, and I did notice her neck. I was like, wow, she has a pretty neck.
Yeah.
But I like the pink dress she wore when they were shooting the bow and arrow.
Love
That
that
was really
one.
pretty. It like was very kind of it ruched at the bottom, what's the word? It crumpled.
Crumpled. Okay, yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. And it's kind of like pulled up a little bit so that she could do some sports like
oh,
activities.
maybe that's what it was. It was really pretty. I liked the way it looked.
And the pink bow in her hair as an accessory. I just love her in pink. And then she wears some pretty, more neutral colors too, like her ball gown's like white with some little faint orange flowers. Um, you can barely even tell, what color the flowers are. I just think I like this movie so much.
Yeah, I mean, I recently watched all of them pretty close together, and this one I enjoyed the most.
I have to say, I did the same thing just to prepare. We've seen these versions a lot, and this one's my favorite. And we were talking a bit about like the camera work and like the transitions. Also, the music makes it humorous. Like, it won the Oscar for music by Rachel Portman, and it's so
Oh
funny.
yeah, the music I noticed right when it started, I was like, this music's really great. And yeah, that scene where Harriet is she's trying to recount, Emma's trying to get her to tell Elton like what she did at the charity thing, and then
Oh yes.
Harriet's flashing back to like she's like dropping things and she didn't do anything, and it's just so
She has
funny.
like a piece of lettuce stuck to her. Like, it's hilarious. I don't know. I find it laugh out loud funny. I think it's a good one. But apparently other people disagree with us. So let's talk about some of the other ones. I'm only going to mention this other one once. We're probably not going to dig into it too much. It's made the same year as the Gwyneth Paltrow version. Kate Beckinsale plays Emma. She's one of the only brunettes you've ever seen playing Emma. Costume designed by Jenny Beavan. People like this. I think it's a fine movie, but it's not my favorite. And Mark Strong plays Mr. Knightley. I don't know if you know the actor, Cayla, I'm talking about Mark Strong, but he always plays the villain. And so to see him as Mr. Knightley, I just can't get past it because he's very serious and kind of when he kind of scolds her, like I feel like he's an actual villain and not like a in a loving way. Whereas in the Gwyneth Paltrow version, I love Jeremy Northam as Mr. Knightley so much.
Yes, I really enjoyed Jeremy Northam. He was quite swoon-worthy.
I think he's the most swoon-worthy for sure. Okay. And now in 2009, BBC made a 4-part miniseries starring Romola Garai as Emma and Johnny Lee Miller as Mr. Knightley. What do you think about this one? Because this is actually the best rated Emma.
Oh, it's the best rated? Okay. Well, I the actress was a little, in my opinion, a little too flamboyant. Is that the right word? I don't know. I didn't get that vibe of like she's from, I don't know. It just wasn't working for me. Sorry. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
What do you think, Carly?
I love this version. I don't think she is my favorite Emma because I think she's more relatable, like more like you're the person you went to school with. She's kind of
Yeah.
more down to earth.
Yeah, she was kind of goofy, which is great, but like I don't know, Emma needs to have that kind of Blair Waldorf, Mary Crawley type of vibe to her a little bit, just a little bit.
Like some poise and some, I think I'm better than everyone else kind of attitude.
But I'm gonna treat everyone nicely anyway.
Yeah.
That's
No,
kind
I
of
agree.
yeah.
That's exactly what I think. That's why I like Gwyneth Paltrow. I do love Romola as an actress in period dramas like Daniel Deronda, Atonement. I can't even think of them all right now. I love the actress. She's very open with her expressions and very, yeah. So when you say flamboyant, I know exactly what you're talking about. Is that the perfect Jane Austen Emma? I don't know. I think she's almost too down to earth relatable. So that being said, so I agree with you. However, I do like this version because you get the full storyline. You get to understand the characters, who's who. They explain the context, like why she and Jane Fairfax and Frank Churchill all kind of had a loss of parent and how they're connected in a way. I don't know. I still love this version for the storyline, and I think it has some humor.
Yeah, I mean, I probably need to watch it again. I didn't like that scene where they're at the picnic and she makes fun of Miss Bates because it was just kind of awkward and she just didn't play it off really well, in my opinion. It just seemed more heartless than the other versions because I feel like the other versions, Emma's just like, oh crap, why did I say that?
Mm-hmm.
But for her, she just kind of looked like she didn't get it right away. And she's like, you know what I mean? It was just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, that scene isn't my favorite, maybe in this version. And I think that's another one where Gwyneth just plays it so perfectly. And then when she's scolded by Mr. Knightley, it's just you really feel for her and for him and for Miss Bates. By the way, the Miss Bates character in that one, Miss Bates and her mother, the elderly Miss Bates, that's Emma Thompson's real life mother and sister
oh,
in the Gwyneth version.
really?
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Your laugh. No, but I don't know. I think that Miss Bates does the part so well. Okay, back to the 2009 version. Emmy nominated costume design by Rosalind Ebbett. That's a Downton Abbey costume designer as well. And the hairstyling one for that one, outstanding hairstyling for a miniseries or movie by Anne Oldham. I like Romola's hair. It's kind of like looser, so it's still pulled back, but it's kind of got loose waves. I think it's really pretty. And she also wears some pink costumes in this one. I feel like it's kind of a signature Emma color.
It wasn't really my cup of tea, but I'll give it another shot. And I'm sorry, guys. I just I gotta be real.
Okay.
One thing I forgot to mention about the 2009 miniseries is I love Sir Michael Gambon in the role of Mr. Woodhouse. I think that really you get to see his relationship with Emma. They care for each other. It's not just like a purely comedic role. He really brings a lot of heart to the character. I mean, this is an actor who this is Dumbledore, and he just tears at our heart for nostalgic purposes.
No, I liked the one that was also in
2020.
Love Actually.
Yeah, Bill Nighy.
He's so funny.
He's so funny.
Got that dry British humor.
No,
thing.
I mean, yeah,
Okay.
iconic.
Okay, so now let's talk about the latest version, Emma 2020, directed by Autumn de Wilde, starring Anya Taylor-Joy.
Okay, let's talk about it.
What do you think?
I mean, it was definitely an interesting take on Emma. It was a lot different from the 96 version. And I love Anya Taylor-Joy so much. She is great in everything I've seen her in, I think, honestly. I think she does a pretty good Emma, honestly, even though you wouldn't think of her, I feel like, right away to play Emma.
Yeah, no, so apparently she even thought she might be miscast because there's a quote of her saying she didn't think she was pretty enough to play Emma. But I think Emma's beautiful. I mean, but I think Anya is beautiful and unique in a pretty way.
Yeah, she has the very unique look to her. She's got like a mysterious look to her, which I feel like I liked the vibe it brought to Emma. Like it was definitely not like bad. It was just different, which is cool.
Yeah.
And I liked, the music was pretty fun in this one, I'll say. I feel like the only critique I have for it was that it was almost too much of a like playfulness that all the other actors had, especially like the Elton. Like I
Mhm.
feel like you don't need that so much because like the 96 version of Emma was like perfect balance because Gwyneth Paltrow she brought all of that to the role of Emma because Emma's character is that way. But if everyone else is kind of quirky and being kind of silly, it's like too much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think they were really trying a little too hard with the humor of all the characters. And I agree, it's a bit much. I kind of want everyone to just take a chill pill, like just act normal. The situations are funny already.
Jane Austen, the story is called Emma. So I feel like if you take like it's distracting from Emma for other people to be that way. But I feel like it does it justice to have only Emma be the one that's very
Like a scene stealer, kind
yeah,
of. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, and I agree with you. I think that this might even be closer to what Jane Austen had in mind for Emma. Kind of a know-it-all, a bit haughty, a bit I'm perfect but I'm still nice, like you said. Like that's an interesting take on Emma. I mean, that's an interesting aspect of Emma's personality is she does see Harriet Smith. Like, why would anyone not like Harriet Smith? Like, she could be a gentleman's daughter. Why not? Why is she a lower level than Mr. Elton? So I think she does have some really nice qualities and like she is sweet, but at the same time, she kind of sees the world, how she wants to see it. I don't know. It's just
No, that's a good way to put it. But yeah, I think Anya Taylor-Joy, she definitely brought that, Blair Waldorf-esque
mm-hmm.
feel to the character.
Oh, and maybe Jane Fairfax is Serena Vanderwoodson.
Yes. And for those of you, just in case you're hearing us say Blair Waldorf a lot and don't know what we're talking about Gossip Girl, which is a staple to my sister and I.
Who doesn't know that? No.
For me, it's not my favorite, but I love watching it for the costumes and the aesthetic. So, in some of the other movies, the 96 Gwyneth version and the 2009 miniseries. In Hartfield, in some of Emma's house, you see pretty floral wallpapers with little birds on them. And you see this great aesthetic, but it's kind of in the background. And then what I think Autumn Wilde did, the director, she brought that to the forefront and made everything just so visually stunning. All the wallpapers, all of the screens that are covering up Mr. Woodhouse from getting a draft, the chairs, the furniture. I mean, I think aesthetically, this movie is such a joy. It's almost like your Wes Anderson or your Sofia Coppola. You watch it sometimes for aesthetics.
No, yeah, it definitely had a Wes Anderson kind of vibe, especially when Elton brought the painting up and he was like, and they like opened it like
Yeah.
I mean that part was pretty funny. I liked I think this was a good adaptation. They couldn't make the 96 version again, they had to do something.
Right.
So I feel like, I'm glad they made it.
Yeah. And so Oscar nominated costume design by Alexandra Byrne, who did the Elizabeth movies, Phantom of the Opera, Oscar nominated makeup and hairstyling as well. And believe it or not, the costumes, while you're seeing, a lot of these period dramas being remade nowadays, the costumes are not as historically accurate. But with this one, this is an exception. Even though you're getting these, colors that pop and these extravagant hats and beautiful
Pelisses and jackets.
believe it or not, this is a historically accurate costume design for the time period. Did you know that?
2020.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I thought they did good. The hair, especially, it was very probably very accurate because it wasn't as soft, the hair. It was the tendrils were very crisp and crunchy.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was good.
Yeah. And if you look back at some of the drawings of fashion from the time period, they modeled these costumes directly from real outfits and real clothes. I mean, I love her, police with the fur trim, her capes, her hats, the light pink Spencer that she wears in the beginning is one of my favorites of the whole series. Do you have a favorite costume from this one, Cayla?
Mm, honestly, there was a lot going on in this one. I just didn't fixate on the costumes. I was just kind of looking at everything at once. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're taking it all in, but maybe watch it again and then you can pick out some more.
Yeah, you're definitely the period film costume queen. I'm more, what am I feeling throughout the whole thing?
Okay, that makes sense. And I'm definitely not an expert there. I follow the experts on Instagram, but I love her bright, vibrant yellow pelisse that Emma Woodhouse wears with the black hat and the feathers and the little flower. And you'll see it on some of the Emma posters from the 2020 version, the character art, which was actually photography by the director, Autumn Wilde. I just think that one's a standout for me. Again, the light pink Spencer. She wears like an autumn burnt orange pelisse as well. All of her collars, her ruffled collars, those are period accurate too, and they just bring an extra touch to the costuming. I really love them. And her ball gown is one of my favorites that she wears for her dance with Mr. Knightley, her very intimate romantic dance with Mr. Knightley. It's white and it's got like some braided pleating, some pink flower detail. It's actually got like a mesh over it. I think it's to die for.
No, that's really pretty. When you said ball, that reminded me of in the 96 version.
Mhm.
I realized that they did the exact same dance in Pride and Prejudice. The dance where they zone out and it's just them two.
Mhm.
I love that dance and the music is just so beautiful. It's kind of similar to Pride and Prejudice because they're both kind of like, oh, I think I like you.
Yeah, there's a realization moment. So let's talk about Mr. Knightley. We're starting to talk about their dance scene, and it's just such a romantic moment where they might start to get a clue that they're interested in each other. Okay, and yeah, they reference that, we're not so much brother and sister that would make it improper for us to dance. Emma's older sister married Mr. Knightley's younger brother. So they're related, brother-in-law, sister-in-law.
It's weird.
Cayla, it's not weird. It's better than cousins, Cayla. There's no blood relation. We're not putting, Cayla, get over it.
Let's put this in.
Oh my gosh, Cayla. Okay, anyway.
They've known each other all their lives. So their homes were close together. And the Knightleys would go over to the Woodhouses all the time. You can even see that the father, Mr. Woodhouse, respects and loves George Knightley.
Oh, I'm looking at this dress. Um, it's like a peach colored. I think she wears it in.
Who?
Yeah, she wears it.
Who?
Ooh, this is my favorite dress.
Who wears what?
The 2020 version. She's wearing. It's like
Emma?
Emma in 2020, the version, she's wearing a coral dress and it's got like, do I need to send you a picture?
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's almost like in the lighting, because it's a very dim scene. It looks like a coral. If you look it up in the light, it's more of a bright pink.
Yeah, that's my favorite. It's beautiful.
And that's a very historically accurate costume. And it's so
like
beautiful.
Short sleeves, right?
And the flowers along the edges, the trim.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this one's beautiful.
It's my fave.
To me, like, I want to see Emma in some form of a pink gown. Like in each version, I want to see Emma in pink.
Yeah.
That's just like such a signature color for her, I think.
Oh yeah.
And this one's a little darker, maybe even a little coral or red, but it still does it for me. Jeremy Northam's my favorite. He's the most swoon-worthy for me. What do you think about the others? So we have Johnny Lee Miller in the 2009, Johnny Flynn in the 2020. Who do you think is the best Mr. Knightley?
My least favorite was the 2020.
Okay, you're not a Johnny Flynn fan. Okay.
My favorite is definitely 1996 version, Jeremy Northam.
He's perfect. To me, he is like the most swoon-worthy. Okay, so did you know that they have an age gap in the book of 16 years?
Well, she mentioned that in one of the versions.
Yeah, they do try to mention it in some of them to be accurate, but I like how they don't focus on it and it's not by appearances too strong. Whereas in the Kate Beckinsale version I mentioned a little earlier with Mark Strong, the age gap is there. And he even highlights the fact that he held her as a baby. And I'm like, you don't need to do that.
No.
I know. So we're just gonna, I know it was more appropriate in the time period, more common, but we're just gonna ignore that.
Yeah,
he is older though. I am okay with him being older.
Wow, that's really weird. I'm totally bugging. Okay, well,
So, but they've known each other for a long time. And I love how he'll call her out when he sees something wrong. That's their relationship. But he does sometimes apologize later. Like, okay, I'll give it to you. Harriet Smith has some first rate qualities I didn't see. You would have chosen better for Mr. Elton than he chose for himself. So he does concede to Emma's choices sometimes.
no, yeah, I think in the 96 version, he's so sweet and like sincere, and you can tell he cares about her. So he's trying to like, and he's a little older, so he's trying to just mentor her a little bit. But you can tell he's like, I'm doing this because, I care about you.
Yeah, it's got to come from like a good place. Emma herself says, both of us are coming from the best intentions. Sometimes we're just wrong. Okay, Harriet Smiths. Do you have a favorite Harriet Smith? We have Toni Collette plays Harriet Smith to Gwyneth Paltrow's Emma. Louise Dillon in the 2009. And then we have, of course, Mia Goth in the 2020.
I really like Toni Collette. I thought she was so funny. The Louisa Dillon, I feel like she would have been a great Emma.
Okay. Yeah, she's
Gonna leave you speechless.
No, she's very pretty. I feel like in that version,
they don't highlight Emma and Harriet's friendship as much.
Like they kind of, after the first two episodes, they kind of put her to the side, and they actually have more of her relationship with Miss Weston, and I kind of like that. I love Jodie May, who's an actress in that one. And even at the end, in one of the episodes, maybe 3 or 4, Romola Garai's Emma, she says, I wish to God I had never met her about Harriet. And I'm like, wow, I think you mean it. Like, you kind of wish she was just not even in your life. So it's funny. Whereas I feel like she has a true friendship with Harriet in the 96 version and the 2020 version. I love Mia Goth. I think she's a great actress nowadays, and she's funny in this role. She's quirky. She's looking up to Emma in all things. And I think she's so cute and funny.
Yeah, she brought it definitely a very awkward Harriet version. Yeah, I think Toni Collette did such a great job.
I love her in the
You
role.
really feel for her, and it's so sad in that one, like the end where they show her telling her about how Emma has gotten with Mr.
Knightley.
Knightley, and she's like, oh my, it's like poor Emma. I mean, not Emma, poor Harriet. Emma has just like
Steered her wrong so many
yeah,
times. I know.
like, and then she gets the good guy at the end. Like it's just sad.
Thank goodness she has her Jane Austen ending with a wedding to Robert Martin, the farmer, but they're just perfect for each other. And she gets with him in the end. We talked a little bit about Mrs. Bates, and we have your Frank Churchill, Jane Fairfax storyline in all of this. And were you, when you rewatch the 96 version with Gwyneth, aren't you just like surprised every time that, oh, there's Ewan McGregor?
No, it's funny that you say that because he literally just appeared out of nowhere on the horse in the river. It's so funny. He's like, well, hello there.
Oh, yes, there you go. I love
like, oh, perfect timing, right when she needed somebody.
And then he's like, oh, you'll just have to live here then, and then tries to walk away.
See, that part was so funny. The humor in this one is so good. Like
It's so there.
subtle, but it's perfect.
And Jane Fairfax, who I kind of like when she's just, behind, she's in the background a little bit, played by the actress Polly Walker, who is a Bridgerton actress now. She plays one of the moms, Miss Featherington. Yeah, no, I think I love Ewan McGregor, and he sings in this one. So if you're a Moulin Rouge fan like me, I love when Ewan McGregor gets to sing. His wig is terrible and not very attractive on him, but I still love Ewan McGregor. Okay. Oh, Mrs. Elton. So Mr. Elton
in the 1996 version is played by Alan Cumming. In 2009, it's Blake Ritson. And in 2020, it's Josh O'Connor, who many know from The Crown. Cayla, did you know that in Jane Austen's book, Mr. Elton is actually described as good looking?
Who?
Mr. Elton.
I thought he was supposed to be good looking.
Okay, so do you?
I found him good looking in all the adaptations, honestly.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. I think I like him in the 2009. I like Blake Ritson. I think the miniseries, I think he does a great job as Mr. Elton. He's in the Gilded Age. He's been in a Mansfield Park adaptation. I think he might be my favorite Mr. Elton.
Yes, so I like that actor. I think he's pretty Swoon-Worthy. I honestly, when I first was watching the show, I was like, wait, is that Mr. Knightley? Because I was like, he's got main character vibes.
Very good actor, and played a Jane Austen lead, played the romantic lead in Mansfield Park.
Yeah, he's got a very unique look to him. A lot of actors, especially nowadays, they all look the same. I mean, so this guy, he's got
swag.
Yes, he's got swag.
Love Blake Ritson in the Gilded Age. Okay.
He's always just kind of a jerk. He goes away after Emma rejects him, and then he comes back with the Mrs. Elton, and that's always supposed to be a comedic character because she's supposed to be just not likable at all. And so in 96 we have Juliet Stevenson. In 2009 we have Christina Cole, And in the 2020 version, we have, where is it? I'm sorry for all the pauses in advance, Cayla. In the 2020 version, we have, where is she?
In the 2020 version, in the 2020 version,
Okay, okay, okay. In the 2020 version, we have Tanya Reynolds, who I think does a great job. I love her orange ensembles, and her hair is so done up in a crazy fashion. And she doesn't want to be too trimmed, but she's definitely way too trimmed. And Tanya Reynolds, you may recognize her from Sex Education, the TV show on Netflix. And Robert Martin is played by Connor Swindles in this, and he's also from Sex Education. So just a little fun connection. But do you have a favorite Miss Elton, Cayla? Or Mr. Elton for that matter?
Yeah, I liked the 96 one.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was perfect. And he kind of reminded me of the Elton in Clueless.
All right. I think we're getting ready to start talking about Clueless, because of all of the Emma versions, is Clueless your favorite, Cayla?
Yes.
Even more than the Gwyneth Paltrow version.
Yes.
Okay, so and it came a year before the Gwyneth Paltrow version and the Kate Beckinsale version. This was a 1995 Emma
Wait,
story.
so it came out before the 96.
Yes.
See that? Okay. There you go. It's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, there's some older versions that we're, not really mentioning here. I haven't really seen them, but Clueless is perfect. Why fix it if it ain't broke? I mean, 1995, Alicia Silverstone. It's, Beverly Hills, California. And we get Paul Rudd as our Knightley character, but his name is Josh. And it's so good.
And like their fashion, it's the 90s, but like they still dress so flamboyantly that it's almost it just gives you that same feel of like costumes from like a period film because it's so over the
Yes.
top. Like nobody dressed that, like her little yellow plaid skirt and jacket, like the costumes are just to die for.
I post Clueless on my period drama style Instagram all the time, especially when we're talking about Emma adaptations, because of what you said. Like a period drama by definition is a television or film production set in a particular historical period and characterized by the use of costume sets and props that are evocative of the era. So, right. I know that this was filmed in the 90s and it's set in the 90s. So that kind of doesn't make it a true period drama, but in every other sense, it is a period drama because it is so very eccentric, over the top 90s, and I love every bit of it.
But yeah, and you look at Dion's hat she wears in the very first scene you see her, it's
Mm-hmm.
got like a Regency kind of vibe to it. Like I definitely
Mm-hmm.
think. And then Cher's yellow outfit, did they like totally try to like tie that in with the 2020 version of Emma with the yellow?
I wouldn't be surprised because she's wearing like a black hat, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. It's a nod to that, I'm sure.
I mean, what girl who doesn't love Clueless? It's and that scene where she's picking out her clothes and on the little TV thing, which I can't believe we don't have something like that nowadays.
I can't
But this
believe it.
movie is just so iconic. We can't not.
I love how you called it a TV because but that's a computer monitor back in the 90s. If you don't,
Whatever.
no, I'm just laughing because like they were so big back then, the
Oh
computers.
yeah.
Costume design by Mona May. It is written and directed by Amy Heckerling, and the soundtrack is fantastic from the beginning. Kids in America. You get Gwen Stefani's "I'm Just a Girl" while they're driving in the car. I mean, the soundtrack is,
Yes.
you get some ska music in there.
Yeah, like it's great. Paul Rudd is the perfect Mr. Knightley, and I feel like he seems it's like the 96 version they kind of drew a lot from the characters or something because his vibe is so similar
Yeah,
in
it
that.
really is. They could have. I don't really know the history between those, just that, one was first. And it's the perfect adaptation or like modernization of an older story, because they do that with rom-coms all the time. Easy A is the Scarlet Letter. I mean, there's some of these, but the Clueless taking over the Emma storyline, it's seamless. It's not too, complicated. It just fits. You get the teacher matchmaking, right? You get the skateboarder who's instead of the farmer, so kind of the looking down upon him as a suitor for the friend. You get the makeover scene, which is perfect. Cher or Emma wants to do the makeover on the Harriet Smith character. Brittany Murphy is Ty. They try to like improve themselves together, and then you get your Mr. Knightley or your Paul Rudd, Josh character kind of like making fun of that friendship.
And Elton is just called
Yeah.
Elton.
See, yeah, and that was kind of smart to just do a couple of those not subtle connections. And Elton, that name fits him perfectly. And the Christmas party. So even in the other adaptations and in the novel, it's a Christmas party where Mr. Elton on the way home confesses his love for Emma. And it's the same thing here. It's a Christmas party in the valley, and he takes her home, and that scene's always hilarious.
And when Harriet's in the mall and Mr. Churchill saves her, but in this one, what's his name in this one again? It's
Christian.
Christian.
Yep. And then there's the whole and I think Cayla, you might have we talked about this in another podcast, when instead of a painting of Harriet, Cher is taking, pictures of the crew, and Elton takes the picture of Ty and puts it in his locker. And it's kind of like the framing, getting her framed situation, the portrait. So that's just a funny connection. But Mr. Elton is still a snob and a half in this one.
Oh, I love this movie so much.
So Emma in our Emmas, she doesn't really want to get married. She doesn't think that she needs to. She's in a position that, she doesn't need to depend on a man and a man's wealth. And in this one, Emma's kind of like, I don't need a high school boyfriend, right? So Cher saying that. And I love that scene where it's filming those boys with the backward caps. And she's like, okay, so I don't want to be a traitor to my generation and all, but I don't get how guys dress these days. They take their greasy hair covered up with backwards cap. They have baggy pants, and we're supposed to swoon. I don't think so.
Swoon. She's saving herself for Luke Perry.
Yes, exactly. We get excited when we talk about Clueless. Paul Rudd is just so swoon-worthy in this. I've posted many times like a poll in my story for Pure Drama Instagram. It'll be like, who's your favorite Mr. Knightley? And I include Paul Rudd, and he won over the other Mr. Knightleys. So we're on the same page with everyone else, Cayla. Also in Clueless, you get Cher having her inner monologue a lot. And I like that because in the other versions, you kind of get that too. So you hear her trying to reason with herself, why she, or realize, oh, hey, I actually do love Mr. Knightley or Josh. So I don't know. They're all kind of so enjoyable to watch for that reason. And what do you think about the moment when she realizes I love Josh or I love Mr. Knightley?
No, I love the one in Clueless where she's walking and then she's like, I love Josh. And then you see the fountain or something goes up. But then I like the 96 version because she's also done that for Churchill, because she's like, I guess I love him. I don't really know for sure. And she's like, no, it turns out I didn't love him because I haven't even thought about him.
I know, that's so funny. Oh yeah, she's like the Gwyneth Paltrow. Emma is like, I feel listless and I have a headache, so I must be in love. When she's talking about Frank Churchill. But yeah, no, I love the scene at the end where they're under the tree for the 96 version and they are going back and forth. Like maybe I don't want you to tell me what you're about to say. It'll ruin our friendship. And are you sure you still want to be friends? Because I think we should be more than friends. It's just so sweet. And I love the way they act and do that scene. The 2009 version, I think, is quite funny, where Romola is like hanging out behind this little cone-shaped shrubbery and she's trying to hide from Johnny Lee Miller, and then he like sees her and he's like, of course I can see you, like you're behind the little bush. But that's always a good version. And then in the 2020 we have Emma, and I love her dress in this. She's wearing a white dress with like this green ombre ribbon and little yellow flowers and green vines, and it's just so pretty. And she's talking with Mr. Knightley, played by Johnny Flynn, and she gets a nosebleed. What did you think about the nosebleed, Cayla?
I thought that was pretty funny. It was totally bugging.
Did you know that that was actually Anya Taylor-Joy getting a real nosebleed? She gets them in real life, and she apparently was able to do it for the scene. Okay, you didn't like that.
She did it on cue.
On cue.
What? Like she's like, oh, I'll make a nosebleed.
Well, they may have had to do a couple takes till it worked, but yeah.
Oh, what's wrong with her?
No, Cayla. I don't know.
I'm very squeamish with when it comes to that kind of stuff.
But you thought it was funny before I told you it was on cue.
Yeah, I thought it was Hollywood, like food coloring or something.
It was real. Okay.
I'm totally bugging.
Okay. And in that one, we have the famous Jane Austen quote from Emma, where Mr. Knightley says, I cannot make speeches. If I loved you less, then I might be able to talk about it more. And they kind of omitted that from the Gwyneth Paltrow, Jeremy Northam version. So I wish they'd included that one in that ending.
Wait, what?
It's just a famous Emma quote from the book that they.
What does it say? Can you read the whole quote?
I did, but okay. I cannot make speeches. If I loved you less, then I might be able to talk about it more.
I'd leave it out.
Kill it. You cannot mess with Austen fans. Okay.
Well,
okay. Anyways, they included it in the 2020 version. They're also under a tree. It's kind of a beautiful windy day. I don't know. I do like the ending of the 2020, and I like the wedding scene. I love her wedding gown that Anya Taylor-Joy wears. She's got this beautiful veil with flowers, and Johnny Flynn is wearing a dark blue suit, and then they hold hands at the end. So I do really like the ending of the 2020 version. Oh, fun fact about the 96 version. So there's also a wedding scene at the end, and she's wearing a pretty gown with some cap sleeves, very lacy, and her hair is done up, and she kisses Mr. Knightley. And people have taken that picture, photoshopped Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden as Mr. Darcy to make a Pride and Prejudice wedding picture, because their frames are kind of similar. I think Gwyneth and Keira, they're both on the thin side. And people thought that was an actual movie still from Pride and Prejudice, when really it's a photoshopped scene from the Emma 96. And they don't have a wedding scene for the 2020 miniseries. But what I do think is very sweet is throughout that miniseries, she talks about how she's never left Highbury. She, wants to see what the ocean looks like. She's never been to the ocean, to the seafront. And so at the end of the miniseries, he takes her to see the sea, and it ends with them just looking out at the ocean. So I think that one's a sweet ending too, a little different.
Yeah, that's a good ending. I like that.
And we got to talk about the Clueless ending. They're at a wedding, but then she's like, as if this is LA, not Kentucky.
Yes, I love that ending. And as you know, at the end of my wedding, when I kissed my husband, the DJ played that song.
Oh, what is that song called?
Tenderness.
Oh, yeah. That's so cute.
I had to do it.
A nod to Clueless.
Okay, so my favorite question to always ask is, who would you cast in Emma? Who would be the actress you choose to play Emma Woodhouse?
And I love your questions, your casting questions. I think I would cast Lily James as Emma. She's in this mini series called The Pursuit of Love, and I feel like that character was a bit Emma-like, a bit more free-spirited and fun. So I think she would be good. Okay, who would you cast as Emma, Cayla?
I would cast, so I was thinking about this in preparation. Do you know the actress Madison Iseman?
I do not.
She hasn't been in, I don't think, maybe she's been in period films. I don't really know. She was in this weird remake of I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it was a TV show. It wasn't very good, but she did good, I think. So like, yeah, if you could look her up.
Okay, I just looked her up. She kind of looks like she knows what a cell phone looks like. I don't know if she has a period
What do you wait, what?
face. Do you not know that phrase? So
Never heard that.
it's a thing on Instagram and on social media. So some actors and actresses look like they know what a cell phone is. They don't have a period specific face. Like your Natalie Dormer looks like she could be in any period film, anything from the olden days.
Look at this face. You can't see her dressed up in a period film.
Okay, no, maybe so. Maybe so.
I
No,
guess
no,
I guess I know what you mean. But
but she does look very, very Emma-like
the way
too at the
she
same time.
acts, she can be very like like sweet and smiley, but then she can
Okay.
also be kind of like, more dark. Like she has a lot of diversity with her
Okay.
role. So I
And
think
see,
she
I
could,
haven't seen her in real life.
I
So
think I think she could do it. So
Lily James or Madison Iceman. And okay, for Mr. Knightley, I'm thinking James Norton. So, Cayla, do you remember in the 2019 Little Women, the actor who plays Meg's suitor turned husband, John Brooke? I love James Norton in Grantchester and War and Peace. And then for Harriet, I was thinking Emma Corrin, who played Lady Di in The Crown, the younger version of Lady Di. Do you have a Harriet or a Mr. Knightley casting choice?
hold on, let me think of a Harriet. This is so fun. I love doing this. Let's see who would be Harriet. A Harriet.
You've been singing a lot today.
A Harriet. Um.
Do you want to come back to it? And I
Okay. Well, who is the other person I need to cast?
think that was it. Mr. Knightley?
Mr. Knightley. Who would I cast? I think Jacob Elordi could do a really good job.
No, you know what? Our followers are picking up on the fact that you love casting Jacob Elordi, and some of them agree with you.
Like he's a chameleon. He's
Is he?
tall. He's dark. He's handsome. He's Australian. I mean,
Okay, so I recently read in an article by Variety that they're doing some Beatles movies where people are going to be like the Beatles, and they cast him as a potential for Paul McCartney, and I thought you would love that because Sir Paul is the star of the Beatles.
no, he could not do that.
So now you're contradicting yourself. If you could be in everything.
That's ridiculous. Anyway,
Okay, let me send you that.
what?
I took a screenshot.
Oh, yeah, let me see.
I was gonna send this to you.
Let me see. Maybe they got something here. I'll be the judge. Okay, I'm seeing the picture you sent me of Jacob Elordi as Paul McCartney. I'm just not seeing it. This is terrible casting. I don't know what's going on.
No, you're just making fun of yourself. Okay. Anyways, that's a Variety article recently published. Are we allowed to like
Well,
reference
good
articles
luck
in our
good luck with that, guys. Anyway.
So dramatic, Cayla. Okay, in conclusion, I want to say that for a rom-com, watch Emma 1996. For a true Jane Austen storyline, watch the 2009 miniseries. And for costumes and aesthetic, watch the 2020 movie. What do you say to that, Cayla?
So I think you should watch the 96 version if you want to get some giggles in while also pretend like you've read a book. Watch the 2020 version if you want to feel like you're eating a cupcake the whole movie.
And what about Clueless?
Oh, watch Clueless if you're cool.
Okay, that's cute. So we've talked about Emma Woodhouse, Jane Austen's unique, interesting heroine. And we talked about the 1995 Clueless starring Alicia Silverstone, all the way to the recent 2020 Emma starring Anya Taylor-Joy. I think we summarized that
While they all have some first-rate qualities, our favorite is the 1996 version starring Gwyneth Paltrow and Clueless. Hope you enjoyed our take on all these on-screen adaptations of Emma. Let us know what you think.
Yes, guys, and don't forget to follow us on Patreon. We'll give you all our exclusive videos to our podcast there, as well as some other fun graphics here and there. And let us know what you'd like us to give you after you subscribe to that.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Swoon-Worthy Podcast and our YouTube channel as well. We really enjoyed making these, first few episodes and can't wait to do more.
And go ahead and leave us a review on Spotify. It really helps our channel.
Thank you all. See you next time.